Silent Boy speaks, thanks to her. In the bustling city of Chicago, where skyscrapers touched the clouds and car horns filled the air, life moved at a dizzying pace. For some, it was too fast to keep up. On a chilly evening in Central Park, two sisters sat on a worn bench, shivering under the glow of streetlights. Their thin coats did little to block the biting wind, and their hands clung to a tattered blanket that had long lost its warmth. The older sister, Sarah Miller, was 20, with tangled brown hair and fierce, protective eyes. Her jeans were ripped at the knees, and her sneakers were held together with duct tape. Beside her was her 14-year-old sister, Lily, whose freckled face was pale and tired. Lily's eyes, once bright with dreams, now looked hollow and hungry. She hadn't spoken in days, not since they'd been kicked out of their last shelter. A year ago, their lives were different. They had a cozy home, a loving mother, and a scruffy dog named Buddy. But cancer stole their mother away too soon, leaving Sarah and Lily alone. The foster system threatened to split them apart. So they ran. They chose the cold streets over being separated, surviving on stale bread, kind strangers' coins, and Sarah's whispered promises that things would get better. Tomorrow will be brighter. Lily, Sarah said softly, brushing a stray leaf from her sister's hair. Lily didn't reply. She just leaned closer and closed her eyes, trusting her sister's words even as the world felt dark. Unbeknownst to them, fate was stirring far away in New York City. High above the city in a glass penthouse, James Carter sat in his sleek office, staring out at the twinkling skyline. At 42, James was a self-made billionaire. His name splashed across business magazines and whispered in elite circles. He owned a vast empire of shipping companies and real estate. But beneath his polished suits and confident smile, he carried a heavy heart. A year ago, tragedy struck. His wife, Anna, died in a car accident while picking up their 6-year-old son, Noah, from school. Noah survived, but the trauma silenced him. Once a chatty boy with a love for dinosaurs, Noah hadn't spoken a word since that day. Doctors called it psychological trauma. James called it a wound he couldn't heal. James tried everything: top therapists, specialists from across the globe, even experimental treatments, but Noah remained locked in silence. His once sparkling eyes now dull and distant. James's wealth and power meant nothing in the face of his son's pain. Desperate for a change, he decided to leave New York for a while. He told his team it was a business trip to Chicago. But deep down, he hoped a new city might help Noah, or at least help James feel something other than despair. That night, he and Noah boarded a private jet, leaving behind the noise of their old life. Back in Chicago, the morning sun offered no warmth to Sarah and Lily. Sarah woke to the sound of footsteps and a gruff voice. "You can't sleep here," a park security guard said, his tone firm but not cruel. Sarah stood quickly, shielding Lily, who was still curled up on the bench. "We're not causing trouble," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The guard sighed. "I know, but it's not safe. You need to move." Sarah nodded, her pride stinging but her resolve unbroken. She gently woke Lily, and they walked away, their breath visible in the cold air, with no destination in mind. Hours later, Sarah found herself outside a busy grocery store, watching people exit with bags of fresh food. Her reflection in the glass showed a tired girl, her face smudged with dirt. Still, she squared her shoulders and walked inside. At the customer service desk, she approached a woman with a polite smile. "Excuse me, do you have any jobs? I'll do anything: clean, stock shelves, whatever you need." The woman looked her up and down, her expression skeptical. "Do you have an ID? An address?" Sarah hesitated. "Not right now." The woman shook her head. "We can't hire without that." Sarah's heart sank, but she thanked her and turned to leave, only to bump into a small boy. He was no older than 6, with curly black hair and big, curious eyes. He clutched a stuffed bear and stared at Sarah, unafraid. Before she could apologize, he did something surprising. He reached out and took her hand. Sarah froze, unsure what to do. "Noah," a man's voice called, sharp with panic. A tall man in a tailored coat rushed over, pulling the boy close. It was James Carter, his face a mix of relief and suspicion. "I'm so sorry," Sarah said, stepping back. "I didn't mean to, he just..." James softened slightly. Noticing Noah's calm expression. "It's okay," he said, his voice shaky. "He's not usually like this." Then, something extraordinary happened. Noah, who hadn't spoken in a year, looked at Sarah and whispered a single word: "Safe." The word hung in the air. Fragile but powerful. James's world spun. His assistant, the store staff, even passers-by noticed the moment. Noah had spoken, not to his father, not to a doctor, but to a stranger with kind eyes and worn clothes. James stared at Sarah, his mind racing. Was this a trick? A coincidence? But something in her gaze, gentle, unguarded, told him it wasn't. "What's your name?" James asked, still reeling. "Sarah," she replied, glancing at Noah, who was still watching her. "Sarah Miller." James's throat tightened. "Do you know my son?" Sarah shook her head, surprised. "No, I've never seen him before." That made it even stranger. "Noah hasn't spoken since his mother died," James admitted, the words heavy. Sarah's eyes softened. "I'm so sorry." James studied her, torn between caution and curiosity. Then Noah reached for Sarah's hand again, and James's heart skipped. He nodded slowly, giving her permission to take it. When she did, a quiet connection formed, like a spark in the dark. That night, in their hotel suite, James couldn't stop thinking about Sarah. His assistant, Rachel, was skeptical. "She's just a homeless girl," Rachel said, flipping through papers. Noah probably had a random moment. James shook his head, sipping his coffee. "She didn't ask for anything. Didn't even know who we were." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "That makes her unpredictable." James's mind drifted to Noah's eyes, to the way Sarah spoke softly to her sister. "Find her," he said quietly. "No publicity, no questions. Just make sure she's safe." Rachel looked puzzled. "You want to watch her?" James hesitated. "I want to protect her." For Noah. The next morning, Sarah and Lily walked along a busy street, searching for food or work. Sarah's thoughts kept returning to the man and his son. She'd never seen such sadness in someone so wealthy. "Do you think they'll come back?" Lily asked, her voice small. It was the first time she'd spoken in days. Sarah knelt beside her, surprised. "You talked." Lily looked up. "That boy, he looked like he needed someone." Sarah hugged her tightly. "So do you, kiddo. But I'll never leave you." Suddenly, a black SUV pulled up beside them. Sarah tensed, ready to run, but the window rolled down to reveal James, dressed casually in a sweater and jeans. "Don't be scared," he said gently. "I just want to talk." Sarah hesitated, keeping Lily close. "What do you want?" James nodded toward a nearby cafe. "Breakfast. For all of us." Inside the cozy cafe, the smell of pancakes and coffee warmed the air. Noah sat next to Sarah, a shy smile on his face. Lily giggled as she shared her syrup with him. And for the first time in months, Sarah saw her sister's spark return. James watched the scene, his heart full. "Why me?" Sarah asked, her guard still up. James met her eyes. "I could ask you the same. Noah spoke to you. That means something." Sarah shook her head. "I'm not special. I'm just trying to survive." James leaned closer. "But you were there. And he trusts you." "I haven't seen that since Anna." A long silence followed. Then James said, "Come work for me." Sarah blinked, nearly dropping her fork. "What?" "A job," James said, "helping Noah. You'd be paid well. Have a safe place to stay. Warm, clean, for you and Lily." Sarah glanced at her sister, who was laughing with Noah. "And Lily? She stays with you," James said without hesitation. "I'll take care of everything." Sarah's mind raced. She'd faced so many closed doors, so much rejection. Could she trust this? "I don't want handouts," she said firmly. James smiled softly. "It's not a handout. It's a chance, for Noah, and maybe for you." Later that day, Rachel called James with news. "I checked on Sarah," she said. "No criminal record. But listen, she had a full scholarship to a top college. Dropped out last year after her mom died to keep Lily out of foster care." James's chest tightened. "She's not just kind," Rachel added. "She's exceptional, but desperate. So we need to be careful." James hung up, staring out the window. This wasn't just chance. It was a new beginning. 3 weeks later, Sarah and Lily had moved into a cozy guest house on James's sprawling estate. Gone were the nights of sleeping on concrete or under leaky tarps. Lily now had a room painted bright yellow, filled with books and stuffed animals. Sarah had her own space with a soft bed and warm blankets. She could finally breathe. But the biggest change was Noah. The boy who once hid behind silence now giggled as he chased Lily through the garden, blowing bubbles. His voice was still soft, but it grew stronger each day. He painted pictures, told stories about dinosaurs, and even hugged Sarah goodnight. James watched it all with awe. One evening, as the sun set over the estate, he found Sarah sitting on the porch while the kids played. "I haven't seen him this happy since before Anna," he said quietly. Sarah nodded. "He's not broken, James. He just needed someone to feel safe with." James looked at her, his eyes warm. "Someone like you." A few days later, James invited Sarah to a fancy gala for his late wife's charity. Sarah stared at the dress he'd given her, a deep green gown that shimmered like a forest. "I don't belong in this world," she said, nervous. Lily clapped, her eyes wide. "You look like a queen." Sarah laughed, but her stomach churned. At the gala, heads turned as she walked in on James's arm. Whispers followed. "Is that the homeless girl? She's with the billionaire?" Sarah felt small under their stares. But James squeezed her hand. "You don't owe them anything," he said. "You're here because you changed everything." During his speech, James stood before the crowd. "Grief almost broke me," he said. "Losing Anna, watching Noah fade, I thought I'd lost him too. But sometimes, healing comes from the unexpected." He looked at Sarah and Noah in the crowd. "I'd like to introduce Sarah Miller, our new child counselor. Her heart and strength brought my son back." The crowd clapped, and Sarah's cheeks burned. James hadn't just given her a job, he'd given her respect. Later, in the garden under twinkling lights, James handed Sarah a glass of juice. "I don't think you just saved Noah," he said softly. "I think he saved you and Lily and me." Sarah's breath caught. James stepped closer. "I don't want to push you, but I care about you, Sarah, more than I expected." Sarah's heart raced. She didn't speak, she just took his hand. And in that moment, they weren't saving each other, they were building something new. 6 months later, the estate was alive with laughter. Noah and Lily raced across the lawn, their voices echoing. Inside, Sarah worked on a book about her journey, from the streets to helping kids like Noah heal. James walked in, setting a mug of tea on her desk and kissing her forehead. "You've changed so many lives," he said, smiling. Sarah looked out at the kids, her eyes soft. It started with one. That little boy had become her world. And together, they'd all found a home, not just in a house, but in each other's hearts.